serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Hi everybody, welcome to our celebration of the Celtic Goddess Brigid, the opening of the new life, the new day. Thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Jamie Meyer, and I just thank all of you for taking your time to join me and join each other tonight. You know, we are all sheltered around in our individual places, and we would prefer to be together in the same room doing this kind of work, and we can't right now. But I'd like you to take a moment just at the beginning of our night here to just imagine that whoever is joining in on this, even if you're watching this later, you know, in the recorded version, join in your mind and draw a line of connection between yourself, between your heart center, and all the other people who are joining us tonight in this, all the other people in the world who are bringing ceremonially and with a prayerful intent this new energy into the world that we call springtime or the new day, and working with Bridget. And I'll have a lot to say about her in a little bit, but let's take a moment just to connect with each other. And you might think of this as connecting from your heart center out into kind of a central connector, like a web, and everybody who is participating in this ceremony together is all connected into that web. So in this way, we're all connected together, even though we're not in the same room together. Just take a moment to just acknowledge that we are together, even though our bodies are not in the same room together. Good, good. I'm just going to start with a little bit of drumming, just a couple of minutes, maybe not even that long, just to allow us to kind of move into a ceremonial space. If you have a drum or rattle, you can feel free to drum along. And once again, just kind of imagine that however many people are joining here tonight, we'll all be drumming together just for a couple of minutes. Take a good breath in and down into the belly, and then let it out in a good, loud exhale. Ah. That's what we need. We need a good exhale in our life, don't we? So once again, thank you for joining us, or joining me, joining each other. I'd just like to kind of set the ceremonial container here tonight with a little prayer to the directions. Feel free to join in if you want to, if you have a rattler, drum, or whatever, but it'll be pretty quick. Beautiful East, we thank you for joining with us tonight. You're the direction of the sunrise and of the springtime and the beginning of all new things, and the direction of creativity and inspiration. We thank you for joining us tonight, and come and put your arms around our ceremony and around everyone watching and attending, and be with us tonight. We thank you, East. Beautiful South, we thank you for joining us and throwing your arms around us to help our container become solid. You're the direction of summer and the bright noon and the brightness of the day and the brightness of the light and the great love of life in the wheel of the year. We thank you so much for joining in and helping us come into this ceremony tonight together. Wonderful West, you are a wonderful teacher and healer, and you're the direction of the dusk and the end of days, of the autumn, and the teacher who helps us to let go and release what needs to go, and the one who opens us to great mystery and big dreaming. We thank you for joining us and throwing your arms around our container with the others and helping us have a beautiful time together tonight. Wonderful North, you're such a powerful teacher and healer and guide, ally. You're the winter and the deep night, the womb of power, the womb of unimaginable power that's inside nature, that's inside creation. We thank you for joining us tonight with your powers of endurance and vision and discipline. Thank you for joining us and joining hands together with the other allies for building our container. Wonderful Sky Father, Sky Grandfather, immensity of the stars and the space. Please come and put your protection around us from above and help us learn the new songs that we need to sing, that we need to embody, and help us to create a new life for ourselves. And we thank you so much for joining us. Mother Earth, great Madre Tierra, great Pachamama, we thank you for joining in and completing our circle with all the other allies and completing our container and putting your protection around all of us and your great care. We thank you so much, Mother Earth, for this opportunity to be a human being, to come into this life at this time and in this body, and to enjoy our journey through this life, even amidst its travails and troubles. We thank you for this opportunity to become a true human, to become a walking blessing on this earth. We thank you, Mother Earth. We thank you to all of the allies. And deep here in the heart center, may each of us embody the seventh direction. May each of us marry all of the directions in us, in our body, and in our actions, in our thoughts, and in our decisions. We thank you. We thank you all. Aho. Well, I want to begin tonight just by talking a little bit about the Celtic Goddess Brigid. She has so many qualities that have been associated with her. And you know, her name, Bridget, there's several ways to pronounce it. Sometimes it's pronounced Bridget. That's kind of the most common, kind of in the Western world or in America. But she can also be pronounced Brija or Brija or Bria, or sometimes even Brig, which isn't really that common. But that root of the word Bridget, B-R-I-G, it's a Gaelic for, it means power. It means power. So we're really talking about, when we say the word Bridget, we're talking about power. And that word also, Brig or Bri, can translate into exalted, So it kind of indicates that we're talking about a very big power that we're working with. And exalted not only in the sense of big and immense, but also in joyful. She is a bringer of great joy, along with her powers of the East. And Bridget is often imagined as the maiden, the maiden of springtime, because she's associated with the new world, the dawn, the beginning of the day, the springtime. And so she's imagined as a young woman oftentimes. But there are many, many images associated with her that I want to kind of move through a little bit here. And I'll be honest and say I've been working with Bridget for a very long time, well over 25 years, I think, maybe longer than that. And I can honestly say I don't think she's ever appeared to me as the maiden. She appears to me as many, many other kinds of forms. That doesn't mean that she's not the maiden. It's just she doesn't appear to me like that. But there's so many images and so many qualities associated with Bridget. She's thought of as the goddess of springtime, of the dawn, of inspiration, of creativity, of a new life. She's often thought of as the midwife of whatever comes into the world in the new form. She's the midwife. There's stories about her as she became Christianized, moving from the pre-Christian world into the Christian world. Saint Bridget started to have stories told about her that she was the midwife at the birth of Jesus, which is an amazing, amazing image, that she is the one who brings the force of pure forgiveness and pure love into the world, and she's the first one to catch it. That's such a powerful, powerful image for her. She's got all these different images with her. She's thought of as the goddess of healing, the goddess of smithcraft, or metalworking, and we'll get into that a little bit later. She's really, in so many ways, she's so accessible and she's so friendly, really. And not to say that she doesn't have her more kind of darker parts. Every deity that we work with has darker elements to it, and that's why we have to approach every deity with a great amount of respect. Even though Bridget may be often imagined as the young maiden and friendly and tromping through the world, there's the stories of her that wherever she steps, and she's singing a lovely springtime song, and wherever her feet touch the ground, beautiful spring flowers pop up in her footsteps. So there's all these images of delight with her. But we can't let those beautiful, youthful images or the images of innocence kind of distract us from the idea that we're dealing with power, power. And so, for example, for me, Bridget is really the element fire in all of its permutations and how it shows up in the world. As I said, the dawn light, is a gentle light, and the new day comes forward. So she appears as the sun that we have right now, the sun that's, if you're in the northern hemisphere, the sun that's low in the sky, and it might appear over the frozen fields, but it's just beginning its very, very early melting of the old cold. There's an old line that says, Bridget comes to breathe new life into the dead mouth of winter. And just that image of the land saying somehow to the sky, the time has come. I've been dead long enough. Come and breathe the new life in. And Bridget's like, yeah, I'm the one to do that. So she breathes new life into the dead mouth of winter. And the dawn, breathes new life into the darkness of the night. And so that's a beautiful kind of gentle image of the element fire, right? And then there's images of Bridget as the one who brings the spark of inspiration, like lighting a match, and that's a kind of a more intense fire. And this is one of the reasons why she is associated with being the patron saint or the patron deity of poets. And when we talk about poets, like in the Irish tradition or in the Celtic tradition, poets are not just people who write nice poems and with rhyming couplets and things like that. Poets are the artists who draw together the powers of the world, the powers of spirit, and bring them into a form. Oftentimes, in poetry, it's the form of words, but these words carry power, carry magic. And in antiquity, the bards, the poets of the Celtic antiquity had a lot of power to shift the shape of things. If a poet decided that a king, for example, there's stories of the poet who comes to the king's castle, and the king doesn't treat the poet with the right respect, and the poet will deliver a curse, through words, and the story goes that the king loses everything, So here's this bigger, darker side of this power of bringing things into manifestation, right? So when we're talking about poets, we talk about every artistic form. And when we're talking about artistic forms, we're really talking about anything that humans do that starts with an inspiration, that aha moment, that spark of the match. So this is the power of Bridget, that spark of the match. There's a wonderful line that I read somewhere along the line that I think is kind of embodies so much of Bridget, and it says this: Bridget is the glint of light inside the drop of dew suspended at the end of the leaf, hanging over the river Boyne at sunrise on the spring equinox. So there's a lot of images buried in there about this dewdrop, suspended from the edge of a leaf. And the river Boyne, is a sacred river that runs through Ireland. And so just even that tension, here you have this drop of dew capturing the first glint of dawn at springtime, and it's suspended over the sacred river, and presumably at any moment it'll drop into the sacred river and manifest, whatever that glint of light said, is going to come into being. It's a beautiful, beautiful image. So these are kind of some more gentle or immediate images of the element fire with Bridget. But as that fire intensifies and is more, coagulated, we can have images appear of like the womb, the womb inside the woman. This is this intense, mysterious cooking pot, the cauldron of new life, which is also the universe. The whole universe is a cauldron. It's a womb of new life, and that womb is inside, all females, ready to get this, creative fire applied to the birth of new life, to the birth of new life, and to cook it, and transform it into whatever it becomes, whether it's a human or animal. So that's another form of this fire. And that womb is kind of connected, in my mind, to the forge, which is like even the next kind of form of intensity of fire, the forge, which is this really intense, really hot fire that transmutes, the iron. And so the iron is put in, it's melted, and it's transmuted into a usable object, like a weapon or a farming implement or a bowl or something. So this is that Celtic goddess Brigid as the goddess of smithcraft, as the goddess of metalworking. She's really the element fire, and maybe it's in its fiercest form, transmuting the lowest elements into something usable in this world. And there's a lot in our life right now that we're in the forge right now, right? All this intense energy that's coming, and even it could be even said, even the polarization that's in our world is sort of the building of that heat, that transmuting heat in the forge. And all of us are kind of in the forge right now, being transmuted, and you can, maybe one of the questions you can ask yourself, and you can ask her, is, what am I being made into, that's usable in this world? Am I being made into a weapon? Am I being made into a pot? Am I being made into a farming implement, into a beautiful decoration? This is part of this work of the forge, and I think we're kind of all in the forge right now. So these are some images of Bridget, and you can go on and on. If you just think of the element fire and how it appears in the world in all these forms, that's Bridget in all of her disguises. Now there's a beautiful passage in the Quran that lists the 99 names of God. And it goes on, and they're in Arabic, but these names translate into names like the Magnificent One, or the Bestower, the Bestower, or the Hidden One, or the Initiator, and Instigator of all new things. These are part of the 99 names of God in the Quran. And I think that one of the beautiful things we can do with Bridget, or really any deity, is set out and rename them. Come up with your own 99 names for any deity, or any spirit guide or power animal for that matter. So, for example, like Bridget, any of those names that I just mentioned from the Quran could probably be applied to her. The Instigator, the Awakener, the Magnificent One, the Hidden One. You might call Bridget names like the Midwife who attends all of your births. The one who comes to rewarm the cold land. Bridget of the dawn, who breathes new light into an old night. Bridget, who sings the seeds awake after a long cold. Bridget, the one who comes to pour the light of dawn and the song of the new world into the half-open mouths of the sleepers who are calling out in their dreams for the next shape to come. These are all names that can be applied to Bridget. So she's a beautiful, beautiful helper. And one of the best things about her is that she is, in my experience with her anyway, probably the most accessible and easiest to work with of anyone in the Celtic pantheon. For me, that doesn't mean it's for everybody, but she's just so eager and willing to help. Like she steps forward every dawn to say, hey, let me help. Let me help bring a new day. Let me help put the night away for you. She's so eager to help. So she's a wonderful ally. If you haven't worked with in the Celtic world or the Celtic pantheon, she's a great place to begin. A great place to begin. So in the Celtic Wheel of the Year, we are at the place on the wheel of the celebration of Bridget, called Imbolc or Imbolc. And this is typically celebrated around February 1st or February 2nd, kind of shifts back and forth a little bit. And for me, I'm less tied to the date on the clock. For me, and this is just kind of my thing, I think the whole thing about putting a date on is a little bit Western for me. And I think an indigenous perspective is more like we're in a time period. But like in the British Isles right now, and in some places in North America too, springtime really is starting to appear very much, at the beginning of February. The tradition of Groundhog Day is, I don't know if it's like really drawn out of Bridget's world, but the idea that out of the ground comes the force of new life. So any of the creatures who have gone into the ground for the winter to hibernate, and as they start to emerge, they become an image of Bridget, right? It's this the warmth, the new life emerging into visibility after being cooked, all winter long in the great womb of the north. So the song that played at the beginning of this night, the Serpent Song, is an old little ditty that is about Bridget. And she's connected to the serpent in this way. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. So there's so much beautiful imagery buried in that little quatrain, the idea of on Bridget's morn, at this time of year, the energies begin to come out of hiding from the deep earth, from the womb of the earth. And Bridget is like calling them out, and the serpents, start to come out of their holes, and, the groundhogs and other ones. Now, this is not so much true where I live in Minnesota, or if you live, in the northern climates. Nobody's coming out of their holes right now. They're all like, we'll wait for a month or 2 months, So this is why I like to think of Bridget in terms of like celebrating her. It's why I like to celebrate her on, February 1st. And one of the reasons I wanted to make this ceremony tonight, which is the night before February 1st, is so that any of you who are watching this now, it gives you a chance to maybe take some of these ideas and apply them, tomorrow and the next day for Imbolc. But in my climate, I think of Bridget and February 1st as largely celestial. Like the south for me is right behind me, and the sun is just every day coming up a little higher in the sky. And that angle of the sun, that subtle shift, the angle, is Bridget just starting to exercise her influence over the land. It's like these little morning kisses, like you're waking your kid up in the morning, and like you don't go in, wake him up. You go in, you talk softly, maybe give him a little kiss on the head. Time to wake up. That's what she's doing right now through the power of this sun rising higher in the sky each day. And so for me, Imbolc in the north, Northland here, covered with snow and ice, is mostly celestial. It's the midpoint between the winter solstice, which the sun is at its lowest in the northern hemisphere, and the spring equinox, where it reaches this halfway point. This is the midpoint celestially. So it's a good time to think of her as this celestial influence. But for me, like in the north, I also like to assume that from this time period, early February, really all the way down through early April, for me, is Bridget's time. And so I think anything that I talk about tonight, or any of the ceremonial ideas that I give you tonight, really can be done anytime in the next couple of months, depending on your landscape. So like, for example, like I think the spring equinox here in Minnesota, even then, we often have big blizzards covered with snow, but it tends to be a little warmer and a little wetter. But we're not going to see any green shoots appear, like back here. We're not going to see any green shoots appearing from the ground, even at the equinox, like are happening in some places around the world right now in the northern hemisphere. So we won't really see green shoots appear here in my landscape, maybe early April, mid-April, things like that. And then I can start thinking about Bridget as the one who the new greening that comes through the earth. But this gives us an opportunity, in the north, to really work with her for this whole time period. And if you want to work with her, you can be journeying with her and making prayers with her and offerings and all sorts of stuff this whole extended time period. So some of the ways in tradition that people work with Bridget or ceremonialize her. Like there's a tradition that on the evening of Imbolc, which in this particular video would be tomorrow night, February 1st, the night of February 1st, people would hang a piece of white cloth out, and cotton cloth, or silk, not polyester, something that's biodegradable, but hang a piece of white cloth out, in front of the door, maybe from a tree or something, and hang it out overnight, with the idea that overnight, the power of Bridget, or Bridget herself will walk past and bless this white cloth. And then that will become a cloth that you can use to bind wounds or, to use as a healing cloth. So for me, I kind of use that idea and hang a piece of, actually I hang, several pieces of white cloth out. And I end up, because, I really very rarely bind a wound with a piece of cotton cloth. So I end up using those cloths as prayer cloths, or I'll cut them into little squares and I'll put a little offering in them, like tobacco or something. Like if I'm making a prayer and I want to ask Bridget to come in and surround and hold that prayer, the power of new life coming into physical form. And this prayer goes in there and then she surrounds it, tie it up, and I'll use that as a prayer bundle, of that cloth, which I found to be very beautiful and powerful. Another idea that's really, really simple is, say on Bridget's night, you can light a candle with a little prayer for Bridget. All of these images that I've kind of delivered, this new life and the bringer of inspiration. You can put a prayer to the candle, asking Bridget to come in and fill your life, fill your house with her energy, and then let that candle burn down throughout the night. So obviously you want to be a little careful about where it is, and burning the house down would be one way of of having Bridget, bring in her forceful initiation, but it's probably not what you're looking for. So, but letting a candle burn down all the way, putting a prayer on it, and then letting it burn down until it goes out by itself, and that's kind of traditionally the image of Bridget has received the prayer, and she's like, okay, the candle goes out. But that's a really beautiful and simple thing to do. There's another really, I think, really fun idea. And not everyone can do this because it takes ashes like from the fireplace or something, but there's a tradition of spreading ashes either in front of the hearth, like in front of the fireplace, or spreading ashes in front of the doorway, the front door, so that then the family goes to bed, and then the next morning people wake up and they run down and see if there's any footprints, in the ashes. And if there are, that means, Bridget's visited. And if there aren't, it means that, Bridget just, saw them and skipped over them because she wants to have some fun with you. But, like if you have kids, and you want to give them some kind of ceremonial act to do, this is kind of a good thing for kids. It's a little bit like, leaving cookies out for Santa, on Christmas Eve. It has that kind of same charge. Like you wake up the next morning and let's go see if, Bridget has come. If you wanted to, kids, close your ears right now. But if you wanted to, like, you could even leave a little gift from Bridget, whatever you think she might leave. I don't know. I've never even thought of that before at this moment. Anyway, those are some ideas about how you could work with Bridget. And as I said, like in terms of prayers or any of these ceremonies, you can really do these things anytime from now all the way down through wherever in your landscape spring really starts to emerge. One of the images of Bridget is the crocus, which is an early blooming spring flower. The crocus coming up through the snow, that's an image of her. This like, the cold is still even there, but she comes. She's like, she won't be, denied, right? She's like, I'm coming. You can't stop me, So there's a whole long time period you can work with her. All right, so those are some ideas about how to work with Bridget. And what I'd like to do now is move into calling Bridget into our ceremony as the healer. And I'm going to sing a little song for you. And so if you want to kind of make yourself comfortable and let yourself, kind of just move into an internal place, I'm going to ask Bridget to come in. I'm going to sing in Scots Gaelic. Probably not that well pronounced Scots Gaelic, but I'm going to sing to her to come in. And the first part of the song is recognizing that we have these energies in us. One of the words is illness, that translates into the illness is upon me. But what, I mean by illness is really anything that is working with you right now, the sadness, the confusion. We've got a lot of energies in us right now. Taslade and orum means, the illness is upon me. Just as a side note, I want to say there's something that's really beautiful about Gaelic, and I think it's very shamanic, that rather than saying, I am ill, I am sick, the phrase is, the illness is upon me, and what that does is say, I am actually fine, but this force has come to visit me or come to inhabit me or come to overshadow me. And so when we're asking Bridget to come to heal this, we're not saying to her, come in and, make me not sick anymore, but remove this visitor, this unwelcome visitor. There's an interesting element in there that kind of acknowledges that that we are not essentially ill, like the tradition of original sin. We're not born sick. We're not born ill. We're born, in perfect alignment. But these forces come and visit us. So we're asking the healing spirits to come and remove these visitors that aren't doing us any good. So the first part of the song will be asking her to come and remove these energies, to cleanse. Some of the words are duvrach and duvran and draui, sadness and melancholy and badness, so to remove these. And then the last part of the song is going to ask her to come and infuse you with inspiration and with new light and with blossoming. So make yourself comfortable, and we'll move into this a little bit. I'm going to use the little flame here. You know, one of my teachers early in my life said that every candle flame is a little piece of the sun. You know, it has the same power of the sun, but it's just in a little form. So I'm going to be working with the candle flame, asking Bridget to come. And, you know, if, like, let me say, you don't have to watch me here. I'd actually prefer if you close your eyes and let Bridget do her work on you, and let your dreaming eye open, and, you know, let her work on you. But if you do happen to see me, you'll see me moving this flame, you know, toward you. And this is just me asking her to take this power of the sun, you know, this little sun, and apply it, you know, to your wounds and to the unwelcome visitors, and to infuse you with her light. Mahir, Mahir, Mahir Brija, Buachas, Buachas, Bianak, Bianak Brija, Tas leden oram, Tagla oram, Tanarevoram, Tabroanoram, Glanso, glanso, my hair, glanso, glanso, duvran, glanso, glanso, duvrach, glanso, glanso, dryoe, glanso, glanso, droch, glanso, glanso, krongen, glanso, glanso, krega, glanso, glanso, schleden. And now we'll call in the infusion of new life. Mahir, Mahir Brija, Mahir, Mahir over, Hushin, Hushin, Hushin Kuvach, Hushin, Hushin Glukas, Hushin Gragyal, Hushin Kial Kial, Hushin Solas, Hushin Solas, Hushin Gragyal, Gragyal na krunike, Gragyal na re, Gragyal na kuan mor, Gragyal na riaspur, Gragyal na kruadar, Gragyal. Intien, 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 intien solas, Mahye Brija Brija Biwakas Binahakt Binahakt Brija. Good, good. Now, while we're in this receptive state, I'm just going to drum a little bit. And if you want to continue letting your dreaming mind, your dreaming eye open, you can ask Bridget to come in and continue to work with you. You can use any of the images that I've spoken here. But, one of these images that I'm not sure I even said this, they say that the darkness before the dawn is the darkest. It's that black color that's just a little bit blue and mostly black. And this is that very, very beginning of Brija coming forward. And this is a color, this deep indigo color. Some people would call it a high vibration color or high frequency color. So as I drum, you can have this play out however you want. But if you want to make it as simple as possible, you can just summon that color, that deep indigo, that very, very first deep blue at dawn. And you can ask it to come down through you, through your crown chakra and wash through your body and bring her initiating warmth, her initiating a new day, the song that sings the seeds awake, the song that breathes new life into the old mouth of winter to clear out and melt the last vestiges. Just bringing this color down through you would be enough. But you can have this play out however you want. This will only be a couple of minutes of drumming. thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining each other in this. And thank you for being this kind of human being, that says, oh, I'm going to go work with Bridget tonight. We need human beings like you that will work with the powers of the earth and call them forward. There's many, many, many of us, working like this, each in our own way, each stumbling along, trying to learn, being raised in a culture that, without really a lot of training, so we're stumbling along. But don't let that stop you from doing the work. Call these powers forward in yourself and in the world. By the way, if you want to learn more about Bridget, I have a study guide. It's on my website, drummingthesoulawake.com. And if you look at classes, there's a drop-down menu, and there's a Bridget study guide. It's a big old PDF with a lot of information, and there's some audios. And that candle healing that I just did, it teaches you how to do that with the Gaelic words. So if you're interested in working with her more, feel free to check that out. So I'll just leave with a little closing prayer here. Wonderful Bridget, thank you so much for being with us tonight, working with us in this brief way. Come and work with us and bring us your new life, which we so badly want and so badly need. Breathe your new light into the old winter in us that we want to melt. Sing your new song to the seeds in us that so badly want to sprout. Bring your warming breath into the cauldron of our dreams, of our intentions, of our yearning, so that we can transmute in us that which has been formless and of no use into that which can come into form in this world and can be used to serve spirit and to serve one another. And to serve this beautiful, beautiful earth that we share. Come, Bridget, and warm us, and light us, illuminate us. And we thank you so much. We thank you so much. So we'll close for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me and joining each other, and many blessings to you as the darkness continues to lift, and as spring will come. It will eventually come for all of us, and the new life will be upon us in many, many, many ways. Blessings to you, and thank you so much for joining us. Good night. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me. Early on Bridget's morn, the serpent will come from the mound. I will not harm the serpent, nor will the serpent harm me.